Hello, my name is Derek, and I'm not good with talking to no one, but I want to start getting into making videos, and I'm trying to stumble my way through this. I'm gonna show a piece of software called Inkscape. It's a open source software for vector graphics, and that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna show just the basics of what I know, which is not everything, but hopefully something that I show will be helpful. So in Inkscape, and I'm gonna just show off some of the tools that I use, just because I don't use everything within Inkscape. There's a lot going on, but I will just use a few of the things that I use, and hopefully something will be helpful. So yeah, I use the rectangle tool quite a bit, and whenever you have the rectangle tool selected, you can just click and drag and create like a either a square or a rectangle. It's kind of just free forming. You can click and drag wherever you want. I'll go ahead and Control Z to undo that, and if I hold down Control and click and then drag, if you actually pull like straight out in like a diagonal direction, it will create like a perfect square. So if that's what you're looking for, then that's how you do that. So you let go, and that's it. Whenever you create an object like this, whether it's a square, rectangle, circle, whenever you create something in one of these tools, unless it's one of these tools, which I'll talk about in a little bit, it creates an object, so this is called an object. And you can modify it a little bit as far as the size goes. So you can modify the size, you can modify the corners. So if I double click, I can actually click on these corners up here, and I can drag down, drag it back up. I'm going around the corners just a little bit. Yeah, so this is an object. That's what you can do with it. It's just like basic shapes. But if you want to do something more with it, you want to turn it into a path. And to do that, you just select the object that you want. You go to Path. You say Object to Path. And now when we double click on it, it'll automatically select this Edit Paths by Node tool. And you'll see that there are nodes that are created on every corner here. So we can click on a node and drag it around. That actually selected both of those nodes, but we'll just select this one node, and you can click and drag it around. And with that, you can kind of edit it around. You can click on the line if you want to create another node. That way and you can just do that and modify it, and come up with whatever crazy shape you want to come up with. And yeah, so that's how that works. Like I said, you can click and drag on different nodes to modify the nodes. If you want to modify the segment lines in between the nodes, you just click on those lines, and you can drag those around if you want to put like a curve in there. Yeah, and if you accidentally have like a wonky curve that you want to fix or something, you can take a hold of these handles and move that around. You can move both the handles around. And to move around like that, you can click and hold down your middle scroll wheel, and you can pan around your screen that way. Anyway, if you have two nodes and you have a curve in between them, but you don't want to have a curve, maybe you want to go ahead and set that back. It can be kind of hard to put those, put these back into place. It's possible, but like a faster way to do it, you can just click and drag and select both of those nodes. And then up here you have a few options. I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but this option right here will give you a straight line segment between two nodes. So we'll just click that, and that's how that works. Alright, so moving on from that, I don't really use the sculpting tool or any of that. Yeah, so we'll just go down to the circle tool. Works pretty much the same way. You can click and drag and create a circle, oval, whatever you want. If you hold down Control while you're creating it, you can create like a perfect circle. And this is an object, and within the object properties, which is up here, or you can click and drag on the little nodes. The node on the left increases the width, node on the top is the height, and the node on the right is the actual, like, just creates like a little pie diagram. You can mess around with that if you'd like. And if you ever want to like set it back to a full circle, you can go up here and click right there, and that's how that works. And if you want to turn this into a path, you can go into your select tool, select that object, go to path, object to path, and double click or select your edit paths by node tool, and it works the same way. You just click and drag on those nodes. You can click and drag on the line segments. Yep. You'll see that like modifies those nodes whenever you do this. And if you don't want that to happen, you can select the nodes that are being modified. So I'll just click and drag and select those two nodes, and I'll tell them to be corner nodes. So it's like saying, hey, you're allowed to be a corner. So I'll click that, and now whenever I click and drag on here, you'll see that it won't modify those nodes. So that's something you're looking for. That's how you do that. Alright, moving on, we have just our shapes, star and polygon. So click and drag, you get like a little star. If you hold Control, click and drag, kind of just like snaps it into like little increments and stuff. It doesn't seem to work the same way. It kind of snaps into position, which I don't think you need. Yeah, just snaps into increments of like 15 degrees, I believe. So we'll let that go. And now you can increase and decrease the corners with the minimum being 3, I believe. Yeah. So you make a triangle. You can go and add as many corners as you want to make some kind of crazy shape. If you're like a kaboom shape or whatever it is you're doing here. You can increase the spoke ratio, so you can make it like almost a perfect circle. Just lines. You can play around with that. You can round the corners. It's like a funky little shape. You can randomize it. Yep. And yeah, so that just resets it to default. So, bam. And that's how that works. This itself is an object, so you can modify it any way you want with its little properties up here. And if you want to modify it further than that, you can do the same thing. Just go to path and object to path, and then you can go to your edit paths by node tool and modify it further. So that's that tool. I don't use this tool a lot. It's just a little spiral effect. So you can click and create a spiral, and you can add the turns. Just add more turns to it. And this will actually take it from like the inner spiral out, so you can lower that if you want. Yeah, you can also click and drag on these little things if you want to like spiral that out and spiral it back in. Same thing here. You can spiral that out and spiral that in, out, however that works. Alright, we have our freehand draw tool, so you can click and drag on that, and it will sorry about that. It's because yeah, the shape is from a clipboard, so we want to say no shape, and so now it should just be a line. Yeah, there we go. If you wanted to, you could create a shape and copy it, or like you can do like a triangle, an ellipse. You can copy a shape and it'll be stored in your clipboard, and you can make like your own little custom drawings. or lines. For example, if I wanted to make like a little bitty star like that, I can do a Control-C to copy it, and then when I go back to my freehand tool, I can go to from clipboard, and now when I draw, it's gonna just take this shape that I copied and stretch it across that line. Yeah, so kind of get fancy or scary, whatever you're going for. So I'll undo that a few different times. Yeah, so I use that a lot when I'm trying to like put like little details and stuff in like game characters, like vector characters. And if you notice up here, so this is actually creating like whenever you are drawing, you'll see like how many different points it's actually creating when you're doing that, and you can modify that by changing your smoothness. My resolution is a little off. I don't normally use this version of Inkscape, so I haven't really messed with the settings or anything, but you can change the smoothness. So like let's say you have it at 16, sure, then it's not gonna be very smooth. It's gonna like see your little jitters and stuff that you make in your hands when you're drawing the line. But if you don't want that, then you can bring that smoothness up a bit, and it'll just smooth that line out. Yeah, so if you're doing like a little check mark thing, it'll try to help it. And you can even do more than that if you want to make it. So, bam, yeah. If you have too much smoothness, then they may like keep you from creating what it is you're wanting to make. So, say I want to do like a little loop like that, you'll see how much it kind of deforms it and tries to straighten it. So yeah. Anyway, that's how that tool works. Bezier tool. This is kind of cool. This is how you create paths, or just a line. You can do a bunch of different things with it. So you can just click and drag. You'll see that you have like a line there, and if you click again, now you have a line, but you'll notice you're still drawing. So you can make like your own custom little shape. So I just click a few different times, then you click back on your start point, and now you have this little custom shape. You can go to your select tool, move it around. You can go to your edit nodes by path tool, and every click you create a new node, so you can go through and modify those nodes and add new ones if you want. Something else you can do with the tool is you can say you want a straight line, you can click, and then wherever you want the straight line to be going, you can hold down Control and it'll snap it into place. So say we just want a straight line down, I'll hold down Control and then I'll click again, and now we have a straight line. And to create that, you just hit Enter on your keyboard, and there you go, now you have a line. Yeah. And if you want to increase the size of like your lines and everything like that, you can go over to fill and stroke, which is also where you put in like your colors and stuff. I'll do that here. So with this custom shape, we'll go ahead and put a color in there, so you can select it, and then you'll see you have your colors down here at the bottom. You can just select a color, I'll throw that in there. There we go. And to increase the size of the stroke, then you want to you can go to where it says fill and stroke down in the bottom left. If you click on the actual color here, or it might be like a white box with a red X, you can double click on that and it'll open up a tab over here called fill and stroke. Your fill is the fill color. Your stroke is the actual stroke, like the outline. You can change the color of that if you want. And then your stroke style is just the style of that stroke. And we can change the size. I'm going to change this to pixel, and I'll change it to 5 pixels just so we can see it. Yeah. So now you can see that we have a 5 pixel stroke there. You can go to stroke paint, change the color. You can also hold down shift on your keyboard and click any of these colors, and that will change the color of the stroke. Yeah. All right, moving on. Yeah, so that's the Bezier tool. I don't use this tool a whole lot. I'm guessing it's gonna kind of do the same thing. Yeah. I've played around with it, but not enough to really explain the best way to use it. So sorry. The text tool, really just click anywhere you want to create your text test. And normally what I do is I'll like type out whatever I need, go to the select tool, move it into place wherever I want it. You can hold down Control on your keyboard, and you can click on these little corners here to resize it. And if you hold down Control, it'll keep your aspect ratio. So then you can kind of resize it to whatever size you want, and then you can double click within your text here, and then you can edit your text, do whatever you want with it. You can come up here and change the actual font style, font size if you want to do it there, your alignments and kerning, just everything you need to do with your text. It's up here. You can also open up like a text tool, so like if you want to actually have like a little dockable bar, you can hit your text right here, text properties. I thought, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, and it'll open up your little text properties here if you want to have it as like a doc. You can also pull that out if you want. Yep, so I'll close that for now. That's the basics of the text tool. The spray paint tool is pretty cool. Really, I think the way it works is it usually does it by what you have in your clipboard. So let's say I'll just create like a little circle right here, and I'll go ahead and do my select tool. I'll do a Control-C to select it, or to copy it. I'll go back to my spray can, and right here I think I have the width. Really wish I could see that better, but it's okay. And this is the number of items that are being sprayed per click. Copies of the initial selection. Okay. Yeah. So this actually wants you to select it. So if you have this selected and then you go here, then whenever you spray paint, you'll see that it's going to create what you have selected. So that can be kind of cool if you're doing like a space background or something like that. You can create like stars and little glowy stars and click and spray them all over the place. Yep. So that's kind of how that tool works. Do not use eraser, but I'm guessing you just click and drag over something and it erases it. No. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so you have your eraser and you have two options. You can either do this option, yeah, so objects that are touched by the eraser gets erased. So say I don't want this object. If I don't want to go up and select it and delete it, I can do it that way. Or I can modify it a little bit, so I can actually like click and drag a little, yeah, I can like click and drag around it and just erase certain sections of it. Yep, and if you do that, it's probably going to create different objects, I would think. So if I do this, and now I go back to my select tool, yeah, so now this is like a separate object. It's not, yeah, it's not bound to this object anymore. So, yeah, there's that. Paint bucket works the way you would think it would. It's kind of weird with vector graphics, and I don't really use it just because, let's say you have like a funky looking object, so something like this that has like weird curves and stuff. And then you want to go into your bucket tool, we'll say red, yellow, whatever. And usually, okay, so if I click off of this, I make this maybe green or something, and I click the bucket tool, then whatever I click on, say I change this color, it worked, but I want to change another color, I can click there, then click on that. But I don't know, it just doesn't, sometimes it doesn't work, and you'll notice that sometimes it will not actually completely fill everything that you need it to fill. So it's just a little wonky. I don't know, I've never used it much. Gradients, so if you have like a little box or something, you change the color. If you want to use a gradient, you can select your gradient, go ahead and just whichever direction you're wanting, just click and drag up. Bam. And you should have like a gradient toolbar, I believe. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but yeah, whenever you click and drag like that, you'll have a gradient, and you can click on whichever node you want. So say the bottom down here, we want it to be black, so you just select that node, you'll select your black color, and then at the top, let's say we want it to be like a blue. Yeah, so you see we got like a black to blue type of little radiant effect there. Then you can move this around. And if you ever want to change the, like flip the sides, instead of like clicking and dragging, you just hit this button right here, which will reverse your gradients. Yep. And I could go more into that, but for right now I'm just going to keep it basic, and that's how that works. If you're in your fill tab over here, these are the different types of fills, and you'll see that this is like a standard fill, flat color. This is a linear gradient, which is what we have. We can do a radical gradient, so we could select that if we wanted that type of gradient, and from there it's just like a gradient in like a circle, radial. And so we could, if we wanted to add more points, stop points, you can actually double click on a certain area, and then you can change the color. So let's say we wanted another color within that, maybe a different shade of blue, maybe like, yeah, a neon. So yeah, you can do something like that, which is kind of cool. And that's how that works. What else? Meshes, I don't use the color picker. If I use a color picker, I usually just use D, which is the shortcut key. And so let's say you have one object selected, and it's you're messing with the colors, and you get it to a color that you like. Sure, I like that color. And you want this to be the same. You select this object, you hit D to select your dripper, or you can click on the dripper and then click on the color that you want. And that's how that works. And that's it. I don't use the diagram connectors. Not even really sure what they do. I'm guessing they just draw lines, yeah, make diagrams. Yeah, so that's it. I didn't go through everything. I didn't go into much detail, but hopefully something in there helped you out. If it did, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and if it's something you're interested in, you can let me know, and I'll do another video, maybe something that's a little more in depth, and maybe actually like start a little project and go through like the steps of the project or something. Yeah, it's my first video, so it's a little weird, a little awkward, but hopefully you got something out of it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.